Modern bicycle frames, such as this, often feature internal cable routing. What this means is that the control cables for the shifters and brakes of the bicycle often enter through some proprietary hardware and run into the bicycle's tubes that make up the bicycle's frames. In this video, I'll show you what's involved in terms of hardware, and we'll talk about a little bit about pros and cons of this internal cable routing. The hardware is fairly straightforward. It's friction fit and pulls apart very straightforward manner with no tools basically. The hardware is made of two parts. One kind of stays on the cable, the other one stays with the frame and is bolted to it. I have the same two-part component here already removed from another spot on the frame, and when they are together in their original position, something like that, this is the orientation that you're looking at it. So this part that hugs the cable looks like this and features a slot there along its entire length that kind of hugs the cable and is friction fit around the cable there and fits into this second part that looks like there, that looks like this. You get the idea, and they go together like that. So that's all there is to it, and the cable runs through it. This second part here is bolted to the frame with one small bolt. It's actually, I don't know, a screw, and I can show you this spot here where I have the this removed from. I can actually pull the whole cable through, and you can take a look at what's involved here in terms of fitting this all together. So I can pull the cable through, and of course now it's inside the frame. This second piece is bolted down and is held in place with this very small screw there, or very tiny bolt. So when you run the cable through the frame, of course you need probably a pair of tweezers or something that you can fish the cable out with, just enough so you can lift it through the frame. Maybe rotate the cable a little bit, yeah, just about like so, and pull the whole cable through, and then it's going down that way to the derailleur at the back. So the reason why I've shown you all this is the whole length of the cable is still there, whether it's ran internally or externally. There is no weight saving, whether the cable runs on the inside of the frame or there is or runs on the outside of the frame. If anything, the external cable routing was maybe possibly a little lighter, because you need, this is actually not the cable, this is the cable's jacketing, and it runs inside the frame, whereas with the old solution you could find just short pieces of cable jacketing. The cable of course runs on the inside of it and you can pull it through. So these shorter sections are potentially lighter than the whole length that runs inside the frame. Now these old external cable housing components were fitted between brazed on grommets that used to be on the frame, not here right underneath the saddle, but at critical points to take some critical bends for the cable. So that's how these used to be, or still are, on bicycles with external cable routing. So it's quite possibly lighter because there's less weight of this, because the cable is what's actually doing the shifting and the work. Now with external cable mounting, between the grommets, some lengths of the exposed cable was clearly visible, and it provides a pinch point as the shifters and brakes are operated, as well as a potential to soil your clothes. So that is inconvenience related to the external cable routing. Now for the internal cable routing, that inconvenience is not present because the cable is inside this housing and inside the frame, so it's completely out of sight for most of its length, but you possibly carry more weight. However, let me just get you back here where we started. However, aerodynamics is the big reason why manufacturers use internal cable housing as well as or routing, as well as aesthetics. They think, or consumers tend to think, it just looks better and neater when the cables are tucked away and are not showing up along the length of the frame tubes, but they do to some degree. They do exit at one point on the frame. So aesthetics, marketing demand, as well as aerodynamics is what's involved, but again, there is no weight saving and there is really no convenience seriously involved. The amount of time it takes to fit these together is about the time it takes to fit the cable back. Now this is seriously frayed there, but you know, to push this cable through this sleeve here takes about the same time for this sleeve or jacketing or this cable. So assembly time or mechanic time is about the same. So that's basically what's involved with this, or that's what they mean by internal cable routing for modern bicycle frames.